Mm. All right, I see the message that it's now streaming live. And should I resume the recording?
Yeah, I can do that, or you can.
Okay, go ahead, go ahead. All right. Hi, everybody. Welcome to another session in Procrastination Awareness Week. My name is Mish Boutte. I'm the Digital Literacy Librarian at the University of Ottawa Library. And today's session is on a citation manager, Zotero, helping you organize and cite information since 2006. So what I'm going to be doing with this presentation is I'm going to be introducing Zotero, explaining how to install it, what components are needed, how to set it up and configure it, and how to use its most prominent features, its main features. So the Zotero does a lot of useful things, but two of the most useful things that it does is it helps you keep track of all the information that you cite when you create an essay or any other piece of work for an assignment. So all your articles, all your books, all your book chapters, all your YouTube videos, all your links to websites, they can all be kept organized in one place. And the other thing that it really helps with is creating bibliographies and citing in your paper. So some of you may have different methods for doing that right now. Maybe some of you still do all those bibliography items manually. Maybe you use an online bibliography generator. Zotero generates bibliographies automatically and does so very well. And there's some other great features, which I'll show you for today's presentation. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to set myself up here. This will take a second. One thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen. There you go. And the second thing that I am going to do is just make sure that I can see the chat over here. And I'm just going to open up a little link to the live stream in case there are any questions over there. Perfect. Okay. I think I have everything set up. Oh, just going to try that one more time. Sorry. Doop, doop. There we go. Okay. All right. So there's a couple of things. Since I work at the University of Ottawa Library, a couple of the things that I'm going to do kind of point towards the University of Ottawa Library. You just make the adaptation to whatever your institution is. I'm going to give a couple of links and a couple of handouts afterwards that might be useful for follow-up or review. Yeah, well, let's get started. So Zotero is free software. You can download it and use it for free. And the free version of Zotero gives you up to 300 megs of online storage if you create a Zotero account. Creating a Zotero account is optional. But if you do, yes, you get 300 megs of free storage. If you are a graduate student or a faculty member and you have lots and lots and lots of journal articles in full text that you want to keep in Zotero, you may need to upgrade. And so there's on the Zotero site, if you click upgrade storage, it'll show you the costs if you need to upgrade, anything from $20 US a year for 2 gigabytes of storage to up to $120 a year for unlimited storage. But I've been using Zotero for over 10 years now, and I'm still fine with the free storage because I really sort of maintain my list of citations, my list of references. All right. So to install Zotero, there's two things that you need. So when you go to zotero.org, there's a big red download button in the middle of the screen. You select that, and you're presented with two things that you need to add. There's the Zotero download, the software for Zotero, and then there's also a browser connector, because what you can do with the browser connector is you can add it to your browser, and whenever you click the browser button, if there's a journal article or a book chapter on your web page or on your browser tab, it'll save it over to Zotero with all the citation information that's available. So Zotero works on Windows, it works on Mac, it even works on Linux if you're a Linux user. You select download, it'll download the software installation, and once it's downloaded, you can select that. By the time I've finished explaining this, it will be installed. That's really how quick it is to download and install. And then the other thing that you need to do is you need to make sure that you install the browser connector. You click on Install Connector, and then you just go through the process of agreeing to the installation. I've already got it installed, so that's why it's prompting me to remove it. If you are using Safari, so if you're on Mac and you're using Safari, the instructions for installing that browser connector are just a little bit different. So you just want to follow these instructions here. It just involves going into the settings in Safari, going to the extension tabs, and activating Zotero after you have installed the Zotero software. In addition to that installation, another thing that Zotero does when it installs is it installs a plugin with Microsoft Word if you have Word installed, and it can also install a plugin with Google Docs if you use Google Docs. So one step I skipped over I should have mentioned is when you install the Zotero software, make sure that Word is closed so that when you install the Zotero software, this Zotero tab gets successfully added. If you ever see that the Zotero tab is not there after you've installed, there's still a way to add it, and I'll show you in the next steps. All right, so we've installed Zotero, we've installed the browser connector. Before we leave the website, there's one more optional step. And as I mentioned, if you create an account, you have access to 300 megs of online storage. Now, creating an account is not required. You don't have to do that, but it gives you that benefit of giving you cloud storage so you can save your Zotero database up in the cloud. It lets you have that backup so that you can use Zotero on multiple devices and they all sync together. And then the other advantage is if you are in a collaborative group, you can create a group library and everybody can contribute to the group library and cite from that library. So there are benefits to registering. From the Zotero site, you'd select register and you'd fill out the fields here. It's not asking for a lot of personal information, just an email address, a username that needs to be unique because it gives you a little personal Zotero page that you can post your research profile if you want to, and a password. Oh, and you also need to confirm that you're not a robot. As long as you do that, you click register, you're good to go. All right, so Zotero is installed. The first time you run the Zotero software, it's going to look kind of like this. It's going to be even more empty here because I've created all these collections to organize my citations. These won't even be here. It'll look a bit more, it'll look more like this. If I select my library, these are all the different information items that I have in my Zotero library. So they're books, book chapters, articles, conference proceedings, dissertations, theses, links to YouTube videos, etc. And each of these has all the citation information that I need to cite them in a bibliography and in my work. So it has authors, titles, dates of publication, journal titles, if that's applicable, publication houses, if that's applicable. All the information is here. But when you start off, it's going to look a bit more like this. So we're not quite ready to start using Zotero yet because, well, you can, but I suggest that you set a few preferences before you get going. And this will kind of improve your experience using Zotero, your quality of life. So what you would do is you would go up to the menu, you go to Edit Preferences, or if you're on a Mac, you'd go to Zotero Preferences. And there's a few settings here to change. Now, I realize that the wording might be very small, so we'll walk you through this. Under the General tab, I would suggest unchecking this first item, file handling automatically takes snapshots when creating items from web pages. Uncheck that. And it'll save you a bit of storage space from website images whenever you save a website to Zotero. More importantly, I suggest you uncheck the box under miscellaneous that says automatically tag items with keywords and subject headings. Now, one helpful thing in Zotero, one of the many helpful things in Zotero, is that you can add tags to items in Zotero. So I've got a tag for things that I haven't read yet. I've got a tag for articles that I think are really good. And I've got a tag for articles that I think are duds. That's maybe harsh of me, but I have them in there and I've labeled them duds so that I don't download them again and risk reading them all over again and realizing all over again, oh, I thought this was a dud. I'm not going to bother with it. If you don't uncheck this, then Zotero is going to automatically create tags for you based on like keywords from the databases you import from, and it's just going to overwhelm your tags with hundreds and hundreds of irrelevant tags. So really uncheck this and you'll do yourself a favor. Next, if you go to the sync tab, this is where you would log in with your account under data syncing. So if you created a username and password, you would enter the username, you would enter the password, and then that would link this software installation of Zotero with your Zotero account. So it'll automatically sync, it'll automatically save to the cloud anytime there's changes, and you'll be good to go there. Next, you would go under Cite. Now, I mentioned that if you opened up Word and the Zotero tab isn't there, then this is where you go. You go to the Cite tab and you select Word processors. And there will be a button here under Microsoft Word that lets you either install the Word add-in or reinstall the Word add-in if it failed to install the first time. So that's where you would do that. Now, there's just one more setting that you can change to improve your quality of life. Under the Advanced tab, there's a section called Open URL. And what this does is it connects Zotero with your institution's library so that you can more quickly get to those articles that you've got in Zotero through your institution. And it can sometimes help you save full text. So the way you would find your institution is you would click on the Open URL dropdown. First, you would go to your continent. And under there, there's a long, long list of institutions, and you would find yours. So I go all the way down there, organized alphabetically. I see University of Ottawa here. I click it, and then it automatically adds in the University of Ottawa's resolver. Now, there's a possibility your institution isn't there, and so you can't find the URL automatically. If that's the case, send an email message to your institution's library and ask if you could have the open URL for accessing Zotero. Now, with that, you can select OK, and Zotero is set up. It's ready to go. Now we're ready to start adding things to your Zotero library. Now, there's a few ways that you can do that. Now, if this is your first time using a citation manager, now there's a chance that you already have a pile of useful articles, a pile of PDF articles that you've been using and citing. And if that's the case, if you already have PDF articles on your computer, you can get started with those in Zotero. So what you would do is you would just find those PDFs on your computer, and you can drag them and drop them into Zotero. And what Zotero will try to do is it'll try to recognize the PDF. And if it does recognize the PDF, it'll create a citation for it. So Zotero was able to recognize that this PDF was a journal article. It found the title. It indicated the authors, the date of publication. So that's ready to go. Now, every now and again, Zotero might fail to recognize a PDF. And if so, then what you can do is you can create a manual entry for that item. So if I had a second PDF here that Zotero didn't recognize, I can click the new item button. It's a green plus at the top of the Zotero window. I can select what I'm trying to add, whether it's a book or a journal article. And under more, there's a list of other information types. So I would click journal article, for example. And then here in the right pane, I would just start adding in the title the author, etc. The date of publication. And as I go, that information is added. As soon as you click away from the field, that information is saved. There's no save button. You don't need to do that. It'll save as you go. All right. So that's one way you can add things into Zotero. Just drag and drop or manually create citations. Now there's more that involve the use of the Zotero button. Before we get to that, I just want to give you a quick overview of the layout of Zotero. So Zotero, just like other citation managers, kind of uses a three-pane setup. The left pane is sort of the top level, the more general. You can either select your entire library of all your citations, or you can create folders for different projects, different classes, different fields of research, however you want to organize your collection structure, you can do that. And I'll show you that really soon. In the middle are the individual items, as I had mentioned. And off to the right is where the metadata is, where the details of the citation information is. Again, item type, title, author, etc. So it goes from more general on the left to more specific on the right. So just to show you how to create collections, you can either click the New Collection button in the top left corner that looks like a folder with a green plus sign, or on My Library, you can right-click and select New Collection. When you select New Collection, it asks for a name. So I already created a collection called PAW for Procrastination Awareness Week. So I'll create a sequel, PAW 2, and it creates that. And then it puts all of your collections in alphabetical order. Now, again, if I go to the top, My Library, it says here in the right pane, I have 294 items. So all of these 294 items have been stored away somewhere in these collections. Now I can take any of these articles. I can take this article here on accepting aging and illness, tagged with good. It's a good article. And I can drop it into multiple collections. So I could put it in my AI collection. I could put it in my PAW collection, and I can put it in my PAW 2 collection. And so now if I go to PAW, the article is there. If I go to PAW 2, the article is also there. So you can put any of your citations into as many collections as you want to. It can go in as many as you want. That is different from having a duplicate. And what I mean by a duplicate is if I go up to my top library, and right now I've got things organized by title. If I see that I have the same article listed twice, that is a duplicate. And that's something that you want to avoid. If you have the same article twice in Zotero, this can cause problems later on when you start citing these items in Microsoft Word, because Word might start thinking that you're using two different articles with the same title rather than the same article. So always make sure that you only have in your top library one copy of each article. Zotero has something that can help you try to identify duplicates. In the left pane, there's this item, duplicate items. I click it there, and there's nothing listed here. But if I did have a duplicate, there would be an article listed twice, and I'd need to remove one of those duplicates. A little further on, I'll show you how that works. All right, let's see. We had created collections. Now let's add a few more things to our Procrastination Awareness Week collection. So I'm gonna shift over to my web browser. I'm done looking at the Zotero site, so I can go to my institution's library site. So here I am at the University of Ottawa library site. Here's my catalogs, Omni, and I'm going to search for articles about Zotero. So we'll search Zotero. And I've got 580 results here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to limit my results using Omni to peer-reviewed journal articles. So here we go, peer-reviewed articles about Zotero. So here in my catalog shows me the first 10 results from my search. And the Zotero button, whenever I have results, whenever I have information on my screen that I would like to save to Zotero, I would use the Zotero button. One of the unique things about the Zotero button is depending what's on the screen, the Zotero button will change shape and color. So if I open a new tab, right now the Zotero button is a Z, and that's because Zotero doesn't recognize anything on the page that it can save. But if I go back to the library tab, it's suddenly become a yellow folder, just like the collections in my Zotero collection. And that's because on this page, it sees more than one item that it can save. It sees multiple items. So what I can do is I can click the Zotero button, and now it's asking me to choose which of the 10 results on screen I want to save to Zotero. So maybe I'll select the first two, and I'll select the fourth one as well. So I'll select those 3 items, and then I select OK. And so now those 3 items, this article, and this article, are being saved to Zotero under the PAW folder collection. This was the collection I had selected when I went over to the browser, so that's where it's going to save. If I had selected the sustainability collection and then clicked the Zotero button, those results would save to the sustainability collection. But I go back to PAW, and so here we are. I have these 3 new items. Also, Zotero has successfully pulled the full text PDF of 2 of those 3 results as well. So that's another thing that Zotero does that can be helpful, is it saves the PDF when it's available. All right. But say that instead of coming through the library, I was on a journal website. So maybe try one of the other ones. That's from a more straightforward to use database. Here we go. So just getting connected to EBSCOhost. Here we go. So say that I'm searching through Academic Search Complete, and in Academic Search Complete, I come across this article here, and I want to save this to Zotero. So I can do that. Again, the Zotero button has changed shape. This time it looks like a page with lines across it. And that tells me that it sees a single journal article in the browser. And that's what it is. So if I click that, it'll save this article to my PAW collection. Now, at this point, you may realize that I've just done something that I told you not to do. And that is I've imported the same article twice. So you can see I have 2 articles named Zotero by the same author right here. So again, this can cause problems. But I mentioned that there's that duplicate items tab. So if I click over to that, see now Zotero has populated with those 2 articles. I'll click on one of them. And over on the right now, Zotero lets you compare the 2, the duplicates, because there might be little differences in the metadata, and you might want to see if one of them has more complete metadata than the other. There are some little differences, but I don't see any real big differences between them. So whichever one I select, that's the one that's going to be saved when I merge them together. So I'll select merge. And now those 2 duplicates are merged into a single item. So if I go back here, now I only have 1 copy of that article left. But it keeps all the attachments together. So now I have 2 copies of the full text. So when you merge 2, you don't lose any of your information. It just gets mashed into a single citation. If I go back to my browser tab, this works equally well with Google Scholar. So if I use Google Scholar to search for Zotero, the same thing. Zotero shows me 10 results. I click on the Zotero button, and I can choose which of those 10 results I want to save to Zotero. And again, if any of them are available as PDFs, they will save over to Zotero. So I go back here, And here I am. I'm starting to have a big collection of research on Zotero, so I can write an article about Zotero, and I can cite the literature that I'm using for that article. Just double check, no further duplicates. Good to go. Now, I've pulled some results from my library's catalog. I've pulled some results from Google Scholar. I pulled a single result from the journal, from the EBSCO database. Sometimes you can get articles directly from journal publishers as well. And each of those different sources will have little variations of this information here. And the thing is, it won't always be perfect. Sometimes there'll be some information missing, whether it's page numbers missing, maybe the date of publication is off by a year because it was pre-printed in one year, and then the official publication was another year, or the subtitle is missing. So you're going to have to get used to making modifications to correct the quality of the metadata, to correct the information gaps and errors here. Later on, when you start using Microsoft Word to create bibliographies, you might notice errors when you create the bibliographies, and you might be tempted to make those corrections in Word. But I recommend that you make all corrections here in Zotero, because if you make those corrections here in Zotero, those corrections will save and they'll be corrected from then on. If you make the correction in Microsoft Word and then you use that article in a later publication or you refresh your current bibliography, those errors are going to come back and haunt you again, and you're going to have to correct them all over again. So make all corrections and all changes in Zotero. So one big difference is that some databases will import titles in sentence case, where just the first letter is capitalized, and some will import as title case, where every major word in the title is capitalized. Now, some citation styles like APA use sentence case for their titles. So you want to make sure that in Zotero, all of your titles are presented as sentence case rather than title case. Now, there's a pretty quick way to do this. It's not perfect. There's still a little bit of work to be done, but it gets you most of the way there. If I have a title that's in title case, I can go to the title over here on the right. I can right-click on it and select sentence case, and it automatically gets changed to sentence case. Now, in many cases, that's great. You just have to do that once and you're good to go. The only problem is Zotero isn't able to figure out proper names and abbreviations. So for example, this one here, Zotero takes a capital Z, and Omeka is the name of a tool. It should have a capital O. So if I change that to sentence case, it'll make everything except that first letter a capital. So I have to go in and I have to manually capitalize the proper names. So it's not perfect, doesn't do everything, but again, it gets you a lot of the way there. If you have things like, acronyms like AI, for example, or like Chat GPT, where you have to capitalize the C and the G and the P and the T, then you'll need to do that manually. All right. Let's see. We've set our preferences. We've added things. I'm just going through, making sure that I'm on track. All right. Now, once you have a list of items in Zotero, maybe it is important to you that every item has a full text attachment, because you're not able to cite that information if you haven't read the article. So you can use Zotero as a way to collect all your articles. You can keep your articles in there. Zotero also has a PDF annotator. So you can read PDFs inside Zotero and annotate them. And a little bit later on, if there's time, I'll show you what is really cool about that. But so I can see on the right here with this little PDF icon, I can see that 5 of the items that I've pulled into Zotero have full text and 3 of them don't. Now, this one up top here is a book chapter. So generally, you don't always get book chapters in PDF format. I'm just going to remove this for now. I right click it and say remove from collection. So removing from collection is one option. Moving it to the trash is a separate option. I'm just moving it out of the collection. So the most straightforward way to try to get full text for a set of articles is to press Shift and highlight all of the articles at once. I have 8 items selected. Now I can right click and say find available PDFs. What Zotero is going to do now is it's going to look through an open access database to try to find open access copies of those articles. And then also, if you have that open URL for your institution, it's going to try to go through your institution to find full text PDFs. Now it's hanging here for a second. I'll try it once more. Sometimes there's a little bit of a glitch here. I'll try selecting just this one and this one, see if that's what's causing the problem. So find available PDFs. All right, might be something wrong with my system. But anyways, this isn't the only step. And by no means will this work with 100% of the remaining PDFs that you need. This can have a success rate of getting you anywhere from about 10% of the remaining papers to sometimes it does really well. It can get you like 80% or more if most of your articles are available in open access. So I still have, oh, this one isn't even a real item. So that's possibly one of the problems there. So I only have one more that I need to find in PDF. So I tried finding available PDFs for a group. That didn't work. So the next thing that I can do is I can try double clicking on this article. If there is something in the DOI field or the URL field, then double clicking will open that DOI or URL to try to get you that article. So it's opening it in my default browser. I'll just bring that over here. And so here, by double clicking, here's that article that's in Zotero. I see the Zotero button up here. I click that. And it is saving to Zotero. Oh, but it didn't save the PDF. So if that's the case, what I can do is look for an article that says download or PDF or full text, and availability of that depends on whether your institution subscribes to that article or not. Okay, there we go. So I've downloaded that article. I have a copy of that PDF. And then now what I can do is go to my downloads where I've got this download here, and I can drag and drop it onto the item that I want to save it to. So there we go. I now have full text. And once again, I have a duplicate. So here, merge the two and go back. So now I've got PDFs for all of the items in my Zotero folder. So I'm almost ready to start reading my articles, citing my articles. I'm pretty good to go. If there are still articles missing, there's still a couple more things that I can do. If double clicking didn't work, then what I can do is in the top menu bar, there's a button, a green arrow, and a button that says locate. If I click on this, there's 2 options here that can help. One is library lookup, and library lookup will look through my institution's library to find a copy of the PDF. The other that you can try is Google Scholar search. It'll try to go through Google Scholar to find full text of the PDF. If after trying all those methods and you've searched for the PDF yourself and you haven't been able to find it, then maybe your last resort would be to reach out to your library and ask help from the library in tracking down full text. They might be able to help you find it in their own resources, or they may be able to get you a copy from interlibrary loan. All right, so I'm almost ready to go over to Microsoft Word and to start citing things and creating a bibliography. But before I do, I see that I think I have just enough time to show you the annotator and what's really cool about the annotator. So I'm just going to double click this first item here. And when you double click on an item that has a full text PDF, it'll open the full text PDF inside Zotero. So I have this article by Huffman about citation managers. I can read through the article, and as I'm reading, I can highlight things that are important. I can add little notes to myself in the form of sticky notes. And if there are, I'm just scrolling through the article to see if there are any images. There aren't. If there is any images or tables, you can save those images in tables because you can't always highlight those. They're not always selectable. But I'll show you what's particularly good about these features. So say that this first sentence in the article is something that I want to quote in my own paper. I can highlight this. Oops, I didn't catch all of it there. So just delete that. Highlight it again. There we go. So I highlight that and that's highlighted. And say there's one more sentence that's useful. I'll choose this sentence here. If I click on it, I can add a comment to myself. I can say use as a counter argument, for example. Oops. Guess it doesn't matter if it's spelled correctly at this point. So like other things in Zotero, anytime you make changes, it saves automatically. Just to show you an example of saving an image, I'll save the cover of the journal here. I select the select area, and I can draw a box around the cover of the journal, and that'll save. So once I've read through, I've highlighted everything I want to highlight. I've made all the notes that I want to save. I can close this. Go back into my Zotero database. If I right-click the article that I was just annotating, there's an option that says Add Note from Annotations. If I click this, Zotero will add a file to that article, sort of a note file, and that note file will contain everything that you've highlighted, all the notes that you've written to yourself, and all the images that you've saved in that note. Not only that, but it'll add an inline citation with the correct page number so that you've got all the citation information. You won't mistake these words for your own and accidentally add somebody else's words as your own in your article. And it's ready to go, and you have notes to yourself for what to use different bits for. The other thing is that this is searchable. So if you start searching for in my experience, then the search result shows you that this annotation here is where the phrase in my experience is. So you can search all those notes, all those things that you've highlighted. So this kind of hints at the power that Zotero has as a research tool to help you with the research and writing process, not just in terms of saving your articles and citing your articles, although it does that too. All right. So say it's time to create a bibliography. There's two ways that I can do that. The quick way, and maybe the less impressive way, is in Zotero, I can highlight all the things that I want to add to my bibliography. I can right-click, and I can select Create Bibliography from Items. Now, the first time you do this, a pop-up's going to show up asking you which citation style that you want to use. I most often use APA 7th edition, but it also has MLA, it has Chicago, it has Vancouver, and it has up to 30,000 other unique citation styles, because a lot of like journals will have individual styles. So if you submit publication to a journal to publish, you can use their style. You can find it on the database of citation styles. So I'll select APA 7th edition. I select OK, and let me just double check that. Did I say copy to clipboard? Yeah, you could either save copy to clipboard, or you could create an RTF file, like a little Word type document that has your bibliography. I've copied it to the clipboard. If I go over to my Word document and I paste, it'll paste that bibliography of all those items in that folder. Now that's pretty cool. But again, there's an even better way, and I'll show you that way. The better way is to use the Zotero tab in Word or in Google Docs. So here I have a report that I've started to work on. This is my report on Zotero. And so I'm going to use Zotero to add inline citations and create a bibliography. So say that I've quoted something directly from this article from Huffman here. So a really good direct quote, I put my cursor to where I want to add the inline citation. And then in the Zotero tab, I'm going to click the Add Edit Citation button. Again, the first time you do this, Zotero will ask you what citation style are you using. Whatever you select, you can always change it later, but you just choose something to get started. So after that, this red Zotero field will show up. And in this field, I can start typing in the author that I want to cite or the title that I want to cite. So I know that the article's name was Huffman. And as I type, it eliminates the irrelevant results from my Zotero and leaves me with the matching item. So here's Huffman Citation Managers. I click on that. It'll create this bubble to cite Huffman, and then I press Enter, and that will cite Huffman in APA format. Now, I just realized Huffman is a direct quote, so I should add a page number. If I select Huffman again, I can modify that by clicking Add Edit Citation again, and it'll bring that back up. If I click on the bubble that says Huffman 2014, a little drop down will appear, and there's a field that I can add a page number here. So say it's page 150. I press Enter, and I press Enter. So now it's cited Huffman page 150. All right. I'll add a second one. This time I've paraphrased. Who else? Oops, do I have here? Say I've paraphrased Morton. I go back to my report. I click Add Edit Citation, and I start typing in Morton's name. There's the Morton article. I click it. I don't need a specific page number. I may, but in this case, I won't. Press Enter, and it adds that. I'll do one more, and this time I'm going to cite multiple articles, including Huffman again. So here I go to where I need to cite. I'll just look at my Zotero database. This time I'll quote Corin Sewell, Fernandez, and Huffman. So I click Add Edit Citation. I had Huffman. I had Corin Sewell. So right away, I can start typing in the next author. As soon as you have 3 characters typed, I think it'll start bringing up. So I click on Corin Sewell. And then finally, let's see if my short-term memory is working. It was Fernandez. So I start typing in Fernandez's name, and there it is, number 3. I select that, and I press Enter. Now, Zotero is smart enough. Zotero knows APA style well enough that it has structured the authors in alphabetical order according to author's last name. So Corin Sewell, CFH, that's organized by alphabetical order, along with APA style. All right, so say that I've gotten through my entire report. I've cited everything that I need to cite, and it's cited correctly. Now it comes time to add the bibliography with Zotero. Just like when we copied and pasted from Zotero into a Word document, it's a pretty quick process. There's this button here, Add Edit Bibliography. You click that, and it adds your bibliography, formatted in APA style again, and there's nothing further to be done. In this case, I've made the the typeface very large so that people can read it. But if you've got things down in like 11-point font, it'll match that, so it won't be quite as big as it is here. Now, say later on, I realized that I don't really need Core and Sewell after all. I can make changes to my report. So I can go add edit citation. I can remove Core and Sewell. Oops. Oops. I took out the wrong one. Let's put Huffman back in. There we go. I take out Core and Sewell, and not only is the inline citation removed, the reference, the bibliography entry is removed because Zotero sees that Core and Sewell is no longer cited in the report. And so what you get is you get a one-for-one match, that every article that's cited in your paper has a bibliography entry, and everything in your bibliography has an inline citation. So there's a one-to-one match. There's no missing references. There's no missing inline citations. But say this happens. Say that I've done my report. I'm always used to using APA, so I've done it in APA. But then I forgot to read the instructions from the prof, and the prof says, I don't want APA, I want Vancouver style. So does that mean having to spend an hour redoing your bibliography? If you did it manually, yes, and I feel really bad for you. But if you've used Zotero, you don't need to spend that much time, because Zotero, you can switch the citation style at any time. So here, if I go up to the top to Document Preferences, I can select the Document Preferences button, and it'll give me a list of the citation styles that are available. I go down to Vancouver, I select that, and I click OK. And it'll rearrange the inline citations and the list of references. So it's no longer organized by alphabetically by author's last name. Now it's organized numerically according to the chronological citing of articles throughout the paper. So this was the first one, this was the second one. I recited the first one again, and then the third one, and it's set up like that. And you can always go back. You can say, no, I'm not leaving APA. I don't care if I lose marks. I'm sticking to APA because I love it. You can go back to APA and it'll resume that. So those are the main features of Zotero. Again, what we went over today is I went over how to install Zotero, how to install the Zotero browser connector, how to create collections, how to import things into Zotero, how to correct information in the metadata if there's any mistakes, how to remove duplicates, and then how to use Word. And it works the same way in Google Docs. Google Docs also has a Zotero tab with the same buttons. So those are all these steps necessary to those are all the steps necessary to get Zotero up and running. Now, there are further features related to Zotero that I'm not going to cover for today, but if you become a power user, again, you can start using groups in Zotero. You can create groups and collaborate on documents together. And if you're a real power user, again, a faculty member or a research student, you might occasionally want to make a manual backup of your Zotero database, just in case something happens with that online syncing. If you accidentally delete your Zotero library and then sync that to the cloud, there's a chance that you can lose everything. So manual backup is way to go. So everything that I presented today, there's a way for you to review this information. I'm just going to go back to sharing my screen one last time. So if you search for University of Ottawa, how to use Zotero, I've created a research guide. I would have dropped this in the chat, but looks like we have nobody in the Zoom chat, and they might be everybody might be on the YouTube chat. So again, you search for University of Ottawa, how to use Zotero. It'll take you to my how to use Zotero guide. Now, this how to use Zotero guide has everything that I've presented today, presented in a pile of short videos. And it also has a link to the instructions on how to install Zotero and a full set of instructions on how to use Zotero. And this instruction includes everything that I've explained today, plus things like how to back up your data, how to create and work with groups, and a few other useful tips and tricks for how to use Zotero. So, I use Zotero a lot. Out of the citation managers that are available, other tools are like Mendeley and EndNote. I stand by Zotero. I think it's the ideal citation manager. An added bonus here at the University of Ottawa, we're a bilingual institution, and Zotero can change interface between English and French. The other citation managers don't offer a French interface. But yeah, so if you've not used a citation manager before, I recommend that you give Zotero a try. All right. I hope the session was helpful. If there is anybody who has any questions, you can either try to put them in the live stream chat, or you can put them in the Zoom chat. I'll hang around for a couple minutes. Otherwise,